Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Yeah, clear.
Everybody, welcome to Dr. Homebrew. This is Jason Petros, the only Greek god in your life. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Or tiki god, as the case may be.
It's true. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm too tired to be entertaining today. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to go home.
Have you read Percy Jackson?
No, but
Because you're not 12?
Well, that's true. Yeah, I'm not 12.
It's the whole Greek god thing. My daughter is 11, and she's obsessed with Percy Jackson and all those books.
No, but my dad had his album in the 60s. It's pretty good. Percy Jackson sings the smooth hits of the 70s.
Nice.
No, I don't know. All right, everybody. We have one studio guest who you might remember from, I think, a show last month.
Yeah.
Last month. Gabe is back in the studio, right, Gabe?
Yes, thanks for having me back.
What's going on, dude? How you doing? What'd you bring us today?
I brought in a coffee sour ale that's it's been about 2 years since I started the project.
Oh, it's a project. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that. Brian has a weird sour project also.
I've always got a project going.
And then we're going to talk to Scott Chandler on the phone here in just a short second. He was supposed to be in the studio as well, but he's sick apparently. Not feeling too hot.
He says he still has a voice, so hopefully he's not like, hey, guys,
what's happening?
Yeah.
I appreciate him not coming in here and giving us his yuck.
Yeah, he was nice enough to drop his beers off in the studio earlier, and that's good. We'll have him in here sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's double nice because we did just start a trend of as soon as the guests leave, or as the guests are leaving, we have to make out with them as they leave. So this would even be double awkward. So now,
not only do we subject them to that, but we make them clean up after us. You know, it's just horrible.
Bev refuses to do it. So
I don't want to know what they're cleaning up.
Well, the glassware.
No, it's not quite so bad.
Sorry.
That's true. Well, here, before we get Scott on the phone, I want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star. You go to 5starchemicals.com and learn a bunch of stuff. They have a bunch of stuff online to learn about how to keep your beer clean, how to keep your equipment clean, and how to make good beer. And the best way to do that, the ultimate way to do that, the barrier is with cleaning supplies.
The magic of
from
chemistry.
5 Star Chemicals. Exactly right. So check them out. They're great people. They support the show. They support the Brewing Network. They support what we're doing for some reason. And you should support them as well. Drop them a line. Thank them very much for sponsoring this program. See them at NHC. Get them beers.
We are also clients, yes. I have full disclosure, I use PBW for a lot of stuff.
That's the only thing I use.
Me too.
Yeah. It's actually, I got rid of my facial scrub, my beauty regimen, and it's just PBW.
PBW to activate, Star Sand to deactivate.
Clean your coffee maker or your...
don't do that, everybody. I'm just kidding. That's not probably not something you shouldn't do. Let's get Scott's... we have calling Scott right now. Let's get his beer going.
Okay. Scott brought us a German Pils.
Yep. We got some glasses over there. Brian Shar, you want to reach over there, please, and grab some glasses?
The recently minted Grandmaster Judge, Brian Shar, is reaching for glassware.
That's right. Where's my steward, is what he's saying.
Being a Grandmaster just means you get to do just as much stuff as you always did. That's kind of cool.
That's true. Hey, Scott, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
What's going on, man? You sound terrible.
Oh, really?
No, I'm kidding. I'm totally joking.
Earbuds?
You sound great. You sound fine, man.
We were joking because you're
sick. That sucks, man.
Oh, yeah.
There's something going around lately. It's just an annoying head cold for a lot of the people that get it, but you don't want
to. It sucks though because I can't taste the beer at all. So
and that is the worst part of it, man. I appreciate. Thanks, Brian. That is the worst part. So we have a German Pils?
Yep.
German Pils.
All right. Is this your first shot at a German Pils?
No, second.
Second. Okay. And how long have you been homebrewing?
I started brewing back in 2001, but didn't kind of stick with it for too long, and then so I took kind of a hiatus, and then got back into it a few years ago.
What happened? What happened to drive you away?
Nothing. Just
okay.
I mean, just actually, the guy who I was brewing with, it was kind of when we were going away to school, so I guess that was one of the reasons.
Okay.
Didn't have the brewing partner anymore.
Because I took a break for a while because my beer sucked ass, dude. It was terrible. It was just like consistently there was something wrong. I just got fed up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm over it. And then, like, I don't know, 6 months later, I'm like, okay, I'm ready again. Let's try to. And it still sucked, but it was fun. So
are you in one of our lovely local homebrew clubs or flying solo kind of guy? Yeah. Those guys interest me, man. They're a weird breed. Why don't they join a club? Clubs are so fun.
Ask them.
Yeah, no, I thought about it, but I just haven't made the move yet. So
yeah.
Well, anytime you're ready to join the clubs, Brian Cooper will hold your hand.
We will welcome you.
And nice. The thing about the Bay Area.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We have so many clubs to choose from.
It's true.
That you only have to drive a little ways, and there should be some group of people who you get along with.
And do you want the super competitive one, or the ones that just like want to have a party and drink all the beer, or the ones that are just like, well, let's just do all these events, have a club so we can do all these events that we don't get to do otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's somewhere in between, right? I don't know.
There's man.
There's personality out there, but yeah.
Absolutely. All right, speaking of personality, Brian Cooper, why don't you go ahead and start?
I'm your radio personality for tonight, sir.
Start us off with German Pils,
I will
please.
steer you out to see. It's a watery German beer. It's aroma wise, it's got a faint light bready. Not bready, bready, graininess, faint floral hop character. Seems pretty light overall. No DMS or diacetyl. It's really cleanly lagered. No esters evident. Just low, well-controlled sulfur. It seems like actually the second sample was poured for me, I got a little more sulfur off of it. I mean, there's sulfur is always a component of these, but I think it's warming up too, so I'm getting a little more, but very clean. But in a way, it just seemed a little bit kind of, I don't want to say lifeless, but just a little maybe lighter than it should be, kind of. I mean, it's not like a heavy, like in-your-face beer as it is, but even for a German Pils, I want maybe a little more kind of crackeriness, a little more kind of toast or something in there, just to say, okay, hey, there's some of that, a little more of that German ingredients poking through, but and noble hops and but it's a pretty beer. It's a nice light gold colored beer, reasonably good clarity. It had a low white head that faded pretty soon after pouring. Mostly finer bubbles. There's no head. Well, I can rouse it a little bit. There's little color comes back around there. In the flavor, I'm getting a clean, again, lightly bready, clean base. Kind of generic malt. It's not super. There's a little toasty, a little light crackery maybe, but to me it's kind of maybe a little plainer than it should be, or maybe it's just the way the water or something else is playing off of it. But getting a faint bitterness there. Bitterness level is good. It's not too big. Low floral hop in there. Not much of that. But very clean lager fermentation. I really like the cleanliness of the way there's nothing to hide behind with these beers. So you kept all of the the nasty things that can pop up in fermentation out of the beer. That's good. Finish is very dry. It just needs. It's so dry. It just needs a little something to play off of that dryness. Like in the German, it's like you get a little bit of the German kind of Pils malt and a little more spicy or herbal or floral noble hop, or just more of a kind of a sulfatey water character. You don't need to go too crazy adjusting your water, but this feels just more like kind of a neutral water. I'd like to talk to what kind of water you used and where the mineral levels are in that, if you know. So, but yeah, a bit more hop might help it. A little more sulfatey water to balance and accent that. It's just kind of bone dry otherwise. Again, still kind of fine points because it's really a nice, clean lager. And almost kind of more maybe Kolsch-like in a way, except without the light fruitiness you get in one of those. It's crisp like a Kolsch. Getting into the mouthfeel. It's got a light body, medium-low carbonation, no warmth. Just a bit of astringency, not too much. But just kind of crisp and dries right off your tongue. I like this beer a lot. It's a really clean lager. Just lacks some of those characteristic notes that I wanted in the German Pils. And but again, I know it's a hard beer to make. The carbonation, pushing that up may help drive some of the flavors a little better. It is, at least in this sample we got, is a little undercarbonated. So I'm going to talk about bottling technique and stuff like that too. Maybe in the keg it's fine. It's just driving all those flavors and aromas that you want. It's perfect. Like, hey, it scored up to 45 in a competition. I don't know, but just it comes off a little watery in general. But just impressively clean. It was hard to know where to land on this. I ended up giving it a 34 just because I would like a little better balance to it. It's just a little too dry, but it's, again, fine points and very well made beer. So thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Brian Scharr.
I think I have very similar thoughts to Brian with a few differences. I love the aroma. It's very malty, Pilsner-ish, with that classic sulfur from the lager yeast. A little low spicy hop, noticeable at kind of a very low level. No diacetyl or off flavors, which is quite an achievement for a lager. Give this a 10 out of 12 for aroma. Now, the clarity was crystal and really exemplary. In the previous show, we had that Katharina Sour, which was like one of the clearest beers I've ever had. This is right up there with that. The clarity of this is just phenomenal. I mean, you can hold this a few inches away from the score sheet and still kind of read through that. It's really impressive. Low head settles quickly. Faster than expected for style. It should have a larger, frothier, longer-lasting head. Straw-colored, as expected. Gave it 2 out of 3 for appearance. For flavor initially was definitely malt-focused with a hint of sulfur. Some low to medium hop bitterness came up afterwards, kind of in mid-palate. With some low, spicy hop flavor, perhaps a little too low. Definitely some noble hop character, and I think the bitterness is firm and at a good level, but a little more hop flavor might be welcome. Very well attenuated. Balance is pretty much even to me between the malt and the bitterness. Finish is medium and kind of malt focused. Gave it 13 out of 20 for flavor. For mouthfeel, I gave it a 3 out of 5, primarily because it is really, really low in carbonation. I think it's partly why the head is so low. It's the rest of the components of mouthfeel are fine. Overall impression, still gave it 8 out of 10. It's a fresh and very well-made Pilsner. I've gotten commercial German Pils out of the fridge at the liquor store, and they haven't been as good as this. And granted, they've sat in a container for 8 months, getting
Right.
shipped across an ocean and stuck on a train across a desert in the middle of summer and everything else. But still, this is one of the virtues of homebrewing, right? You can brew something fresh and tasty at home for yourself that might be better than something you can buy at the store that's having to come from 6,000 miles away.
Right.
Ultimately, more carbonation. If this beer has, to me, sort of a singular flaw, it's the lack of carbonation. Total, I still give it a 36 out of 50, which is in the very good range. And just additional carbonation, whether this is, and I'll be curious to hear if this was bottle conditioned or filled off a keg or what. But that would, I think, this would be a 40-plus point beer to me if it had proper carbonation.
It would definitely bring it up towards that, for me, too.
Okay. Excellent. Scott, what do you think? You got any questions for the guys? Or actually, we should probably get your recipe, huh?
Yeah, you want me to do that first?
Sorry. If you wouldn't mind, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So it's 97.2, or it's like 97% Pilsner malt. I use the Admiral maltings.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Pilsner malt out of Alameda. And then it's just the rest is just acid malt to hit my mash pH.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then for hops, it was like 39 IBUs of German Magnum at 60 minutes. And then, let's see, I did 2 ounces Hallertau middle fruit at 5 minutes. And then I, toward the end of fermentation, I dry hopped it with 2 ounces of Perla.
You'd think that should give you enough hop character, yeah. Wow.
I know, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
And 5 gallons? Wow, yeah. Okay.
And then the yeast was the German Bach. The
Interesting.
White Labs German Bach, the 833.
You know, I could have sworn that there were some new school German hops in here just because of how fruity and almost like cantaloupe melony I got out of that. Do you think it's the Bach yeast that's throwing a little bit, or am I
I've
just
done this similar recipe with just the German, what is it, 8 just the normal, like, German lager strain.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
sorry. It's a little bit different, but it's similar. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me skip ahead here just a second because we're talking about fruitiness. What was your fermentation temperature? Did you control your fermentation temp?
Yeah, I pitch at 45 and then let it free rise up to 50. Keep it there for about a week and then kind of ramp up.
Okay, so you never had excursions up to ale temperature or anything. That's good.
No.
Excursion.
No.
It doesn't taste like you did.
No.
No.
What about the water? What did you do there?
Yeah, so I'm just using just the tap water, I filter it, and then I treat it with some potassium metabisulfite to remove the chloramines.
Okay.
And then other than that, I just add a little bit of calcium chloride and gypsum.
Okay.
So the water here, it's the East Bay mud water that we have is like really, really soft.
Oh, yeah, you guys have good water.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Yeah, you definitely probably wanted to add a little calcium to that and a little sulfate. So, yeah, that doesn't sound too bad what you did. No?
Yeah. All right.
I think I targeted like around 70
For calcium.
parts per million calcium, and chloride 60, sulfate was like around 80.
Okay.
No, it sounds fine to me.
Should
I
be
mean,
decent, yeah.
I don't know shit. Do you have any specific questions for the guys, Scott, on anything that they talked about?
Well, I was going to ask a bit about the bitterness level, but you guys seem to think that was okay. It sounded like.
I think it's fun. Do you not think it's?
Well, no, I just haven't had like a ton of different examples of commercial examples of the style. So
I think bitterness is fine, right?
Yeah, I think this is what I expect from a German Pils. This is not a Helles. A Helles has half this bitterness.
Yeah.
A German Pils ought to be firmly bitter. It should be noticeably bitter. And this is, to me, a very appropriate level of bitterness.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And
then
Magnum is great for that. Magnum has very little flavor to it. Magnum is perfect bittering hop.
Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, and then the first Ryan was saying that it was maybe lacking like some maltiness. Is that something that I could maybe throw in some Munich or something to help out with, or what would you suggest?
Well,
yeah, Brian.
I think what Admiral Malting is doing over there is cool, but it's still an American-made German Pils malt. You really can't beat using the actual, German Pils malt from Germany.
Right.
Or blend them, or just do something fun. It's a really clean beer. There's not a lot to knock it for. I think just needs a little something extra there, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Brian that if you're trying to, Admiral is doing great stuff, and we support them and really love their products. And this is not a knock on Admiral, but if you're trying to do a German style of beer, I would definitely start with German malt. Just like if you're doing a British beer, I would use British malt. And certainly it's fun to experiment, and it's worth trying. And this, I think, comes really close to German Pils. But that probably would have gotten you a little closer to have used German, like a Weyermann malt.
Yeah. With this clean of a lager, you're a dangerous brewer, and we hope you don't enter the same competitions we do, because we'll lose against that. Yeah, it's beautifully brewed. Nice job on the fermentation for sure.
Yeah,
no diacetyl. Just nicely cleaned up lager.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Scott. Well, hey, man, if that's it, we'll let you go and rest up, dude.
Yeah, man.
Let us know when you rebrew this one.
Feel better.
Yeah. All right, Scott.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Cheers. Thanks.
Bye. Cool. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad he came on today. He wasn't feeling the best, but glad we could taste this beer today too, while it's fresh and it's really good.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk to Gabe and I don't know, whatever he sent. I'm assuming it's a beer. So hang on. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
Now, back to the examination.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Dr. Homebrew. Before we get to our guest, I want to tell you guys about more beer and how they want to change your malt game with Viking Malt. Hailing from Northern Europe, Viking Malt is a family-owned malt house since 1883, and somehow, flying under the radar, it's the largest specialty malt producer in the world. Their base malts are malted from no-LOX varietals that don't contain the enzyme lipooxygenase, which leads to trans-2-nonal in beer, which is responsible for the stale cardboard flavors. So head over to morebeer.com and brew with ingredients from the future that is driven by robots.
You are pronouncing that stuff amazing these days.
All right, huh?
Trans-2-nonal. So we did our judging class, in Livermore recently, and They have the papery sample from the Siebel kit that you get for the off-flavor dosing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. We got one that was just so strong on the papery. It was just like trans 2 non-all bomb. And it was like, oh, my God. I had to water it down 3 times to get it to where it just tasted papery instead of just like, I don't know,
Instead
like
of working at the paper mill?
slicing through your tongue. And just,
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. It was just...
And they want to beat you over the head with that. Isn't that the goal of that?
Most of the samples are actually pretty well balanced from the Siebel kit.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you do
know?
get a little variation from batch to batch. And it might have just been really fresh, but wow, that papery was woo.
Oh, man. Well, Gabe, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, of course. What kind of beer did you get for us, or bring for us, rather?
I brought in a coffee sour ale because I didn't learn my lesson from last time.
All right, let's see if we can get some of that poured. Whoever is closest to the glasses. See, that's why we have Brian Shark closer to the glasses, because he's the new kid. He's the new fish.
Yeah.
So he's got to do all the pouring.
Yeah, Grandmaster or not, I'm pouring some beer here.
You got a
for
steward,
everybody.
man. Let's go.
Exactly.
So,
do what you got to do.
A coffee sour beer. What made you want to put coffee and sour notes together? Do you hate us?
I think it's based on the Rare Barrel's All Systems Go.
Okay.
Have you had that beer?
Probably. All
right. I was pretty impressed by it and wanted to replicate it. I have a friend who roasts his own coffee beans and liked this kind of blueberry blend that he came up with.
Okay.
I don't think you really get that in this at this point in time, but...
To be honest, I get jalapeno.
I went for it. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I'm doing things out of order right now, but I get jalapeno.
All right.
Like not, sometimes we talk about on the show about using coffee and you get like the green bell pepper. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if the sour is kind of tweaking that a little bit to make it like jalapeno, like flesh, not spicy, but you know what I mean? Is that what you have?
Yes. It expresses itself, with a hint of hot green pepper flavor. Not the heat, the flavor.
Yeah. See, I could be a grandmaster. That's nothing, dude. I'm not impressed with you guys.
Seats.
You just haven't. You have to grade like hundreds of exams. That's the only difference, really.
I just have to do live reads and get these yahoos to judge beer. This is great.
It's easy. Brian Shar, you're up first.
All right.
Let's go.
Aroma. Get a hint of coffee that's noticeable in the aroma that blends with the sour aroma. Sourness is kind of predominant, and I would say it's really more of like a funk, like a Brett type. And I'll be curious when you tell us about your recipe, like what critters you put in this. But definitely get some funk in the aroma. No off aromas, no diacetyl. Give it 8 out of 12 for aroma. Appearance, 3 out of 3. It's hazy, which is not a fault in this style. So just as an aside, the base beer of this was a 28B mixed fermentation in the 2015 guidelines, and we judged this as a wild specialty 28C. So if you're following along at home with your 2015 guidelines, which you should, print those out, live them, learn them, love them. That will, as I probably should do myself, that's what we're judging this as, 28C. So hazy is okay. It's sort of a golden brown color, and I suspect it's a little bit darker than a lot of sour beers to me, which just a little, Brian's looking at me funny when I said a little bit darker.
No, you said brown?
It's a little brown, golden brown. It's not like brown like the it's like a brown beer bottle.
I would
but
say
it's
amber.
A little bit of a
not even copper, amber, like dark, maybe.
Do I just not know the names of my colors? It's not even color blindness. I mean, do we need to go back to kindergarten and run through like a?
You can hang out with my 5-year-old. Yeah,
yeah, probably. But even my daughter is too old to teach me colors at this point. Maybe just don't know my colors. But yeah, amber is a good descriptor. I suspect from the use of the coffee. There's really no head at all. Possibly due to lacto, which kills head. So that's okay for appearance. Gave it 3 out of 3. Flavor, this is not one that's going to rip your face off with sourness, although there is a lot of sourness. And what was really interesting to me about this beer as you have a sip, you think, oh, okay, here's some funk, there's some sourness. And on the second sip, you get a lot more, to me, kind of a lactic citrus kind of a bite out of this on top of the funk. There's low malt, no hop bitterness or flavor. And I'm sure there's some hop bitterness in here, but to me, it just kind of gets overwhelmed by the sourness, which is okay for this style. This is not a style which is traditionally hoppy, right? Wild Specialty is about the sourness and the funk. It's not about the hops. Balance is obviously toward the sour. Finish is kind of medium in length and focused on the funk and the lactic. In the flavor, to me, the coffee kind of gets lost in the sourness. I do pick up a little of that jalapeno green pepper, but to me, even that is just kind of if you hadn't said there was coffee in this, I might wonder whether there's coffee in this or not. So 12 out of 20 for flavor. Mouthfeel, this beer is almost flat. Some carbonation would have livened this up and I think enhanced the sourness and possibly even enhanced the coffee flavor and definitely the aroma. There is some slight warming. Body is low to medium. It's mouth puckery, but it's a sour. I wouldn't say it's astringent. Gave it 2 out of 5 for mouthfeel. An overall impression, I gave this a 6 out of 10. I really like this beer, even though it's not is missing to me as much coffee as there's a hint of coffee, and I kind of want more. Coffee's advertised, and I kind of want more of that in the beer. But having said that, it's I think it's really well done and really flavorful. I was thinking a little bit about where did the coffee go? Because coffee is zero carb. It didn't get fermented out. It didn't go anywhere. And I happened to notice, and we can talk about this after Brian gives his score sheet, but the cap has had like a 4/18. And I'm thinking if this was bottled on April 18th, what happens to sour beer, a well-made sour beer like this one, this is clearly a well-made beer, will continue to get more complex and more sour in the bottle over time. Even if there's not necessarily more carbonation that comes out of that, it will evolve in the bottle and will tend to get more sour. Mm-hmm. And I suspect the balance of sourness to coffee, just due to age after 8 months, is much different than it was when you bottled this. And we can talk about that a little later. Okay. But overall, I gave it 31 out of 50. I thought it was tasty. I have a sample here. I'm going to finish this while Brian's talking about this beer. I thought it was quite tasty.
All right.
Well done.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, Brian.
Okay. Yes. In the nose, it does smell appropriately sour and a little funky, like Brian said. Definitely a little more than just clean lacto going on here, but it's not acidic or anything like that. It's got kind of a lot of interesting fruity notes to it, like apricot, a little bit of apple cider-like note. Just firm fruity esters. I'm getting kind of a faint earthiness from the coffee. There's not much there. But it's not solventy or strong smelling or harsh. There's no THP apparent in this one. It doesn't have that. The color is kind of an orangey, kind of light amber color with somewhat poor clarity. I gave it a 1 out of 3 for appearance. It poured with pretty much no head or foam stand at all. It's just flat looking. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting color, but other than that, it needs a little more. And you can have a little. Yes, of course, you can have the head fall flat on a sour beer, and it can be a little bit murky. But if there's just nothing there, well, you only get 3 points for appearance. You got to. Can knock it down a little bit right. Harshly, like me on this one. I don't know.
Well, you're a big
good
jerk.
Cop, bad cop.
That's right.
What do you want to call it?
That's
in
right.
the flavor, it's the beer is just more attractive when it has a little head, even if it just comes up for a bit and fades quickly because it's acidic. But it also tells you, maybe when I get into the mouthfeel or in the flavors, it's not going to push them as much. It's not going to have as much going on, and this definitely feels a little less carbonated on the tongue too. So, but in the flavor, it's cleanly sour. Has a nice white wine-like and fruity apricot. Good lactic notes in there. I'm not getting any acetic. A little tiny bit of funk, but not super, Brett heavy either. Just a cleanly fermented and soured beer. The bitterness is low and out of the way. I think there's a little bit of bitterness here from the coffee, which expresses itself as a light kind of blonde roast coffee maybe, but very backgroundy with a hint of that green pepper flavor. And you really do get that in the flavor too, not just the aroma. It's I didn't note it in the aroma, but it's there in both. It just smells and tastes a little bit like a spicy green pepper flavor. Medium light bodied in the mouthfeel. It's almost no carbonation. It's really pretty flat. No warmth, not very creamy, but still smooth. It's not biting or harsh.
That's fair.
Not getting any astringency.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pleasant drinking sour. It has a lot of nice flavors and some of the declared coffee. Less of that in the aroma than the flavor, but it works as is. But a slightly bolder coffee note would be welcome. It may be that it's just aging out, and more carbonation will help drive some of those aromas out of the beer too. But definitely go with more coffee. I gave it a 30. One thing I would say too about this beer, it comes across as I was tasting it. It's like this light beer that has these dark, some dark flavor to it, and it comes across a little bit like if you soured one of those golden stouts.
Yes.
And just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what it tastes like to me.
Okay.
So it's an interesting beer. I like it, and I can drink it. I could drink a lot of it.
And I got one. I figured out finally, pretty exactly, I think, of what this reminds me of, and it probably has a lot to do with the temperature, because it is sort of body temperature at this point. Yep. Sweet and sour wontons.
Yeah.
With the green bell pepper, like in the sauce, like sweet and sour, like beef, and then you take a wonton, you dip in that's that kind of grainy. I don't know.
So we could do pairings on Dr. Homebrew, like taste the beer ahead of time.
If this would be a Chinese food sour beer,
I think JP just unlocked the Grandmaster 3 achievement.
Hell yeah, dude. Gordon Strong, where's my shit? It's been 2 seconds.
He unlocked Hazy IPA Bro level 30 on Untapped.
God, kill myself now. Gabe, let's talk about this beer, man.
Yeah, I think for one, I really suck at picking up that bell pepper flavor. So that's one thing to take away from this.
Be thankful. No, it's not. It's really not horrid. It's a light. It expresses itself.
It's
that
something
way.
for me to look for and get better at. Let's see, where do we want to start? This beer was originally brewed February of 2016. So it was 2 years old when I bottled it, March 31st of this year.
When did you add the coffee?
I added the coffee. So I had a 3-gallon carboy, and then I had a half-gallon carboy of only the coffee. It was far too strong. Mm-hmm. I think I have that as June 18th of 2017.
Okay.
And then I transferred that a week later. So we're looking at, a year and a half now?
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go, Brian.
Yeah, so it's been 9 months almost since I bottled it as well.
Okay.
So coffee's definitely in the background. I think for me, I felt like I had to declare the coffee because the coffee is somewhere in that medium palate.
It's contributing,
for me.
I agree. Yeah.
And I imagine a year and a half ago it was much fresher. And you said that one batch was really strong. You blended it until it felt right. That batch had more of a fresh roasted coffee kind of flavor to it, I would imagine. Yeah.
And that's when you drink it.
That's when you should drink it.
That's when you should drink it. When everything's dialed in. Because that Rare Barrel beer, they release their beers and they're ready to drink.
Yeah.
So it's going to... I don't think coffee and sour beer it's the no pun intended. It's the rare bottle that I think that combination can work.
Problem.
How close did you get when you...
Brian, I'm sorry. I don't want to walk away. I'm sorry, Brian. I don't want to walk away from this declaring issue.
Okay.
Because you said, I feel like I should declare it because it's in there. So part of Dr. Homebrew is talking about competition and what happens to your beer when it gets judged at a competition. So the fact that coffee was in there and very perceivable when you bottled it, and maybe it isn't now, you have no obligation to declare it.
Okay.
Right? So one of the things people
Can you
ought
tell
to
Brian's
do...
a lower, by the way?
But yes, I am... let me...
you have no obligation to declare this.
And let me call 1-800-888-8888, and I will take your case for your homebrew case for free. I do nothing for free.
I cannot recall at this time putting coffee in this beer.
But the thing people get wrapped around the axle about, well, I put it in, so I have to declare it. That's not the case. You shouldn't declare it unless you can taste it. And that's why it's usually useful before you enter anything, especially an older beer, and especially if you added something to it. Taste it before you enter it. Because if the specialty ingredient isn't obvious or it's faded into the background, but it's still a good beer, don't enter it as that kind of specialty or spice, herb, vegetable, or wild or whatever. Because what happens is the judges see coffee in the description of the beer, and they expect, like, oh, this is going to hit me with some coffee. It doesn't have to be to the exclusion of all else, and it shouldn't, but you'll end up getting knocked off more points than you should have if you didn't declare the coffee, because judges like me will say, well, yeah, I can, if I think really hard, I can perceive the coffee, but I don't. So declare when you're entering competitions, declare what you taste and smell. And don't declare what you put in if you can't tell it's there anymore. Does that make sense?
You could,
yeah, that does. Yeah. Thanks.
Add a little spicy zing to this and declare it as a Serrano pepper beer or something. Yeah, might be closer.
Put fresh coffee beans at the bottom of each bottle. I don't know. Yeah. It's definitely, but no, it's declare what you can perceive, not what you put in.
Got it.
Now I forgot what else I was going to say.
Sorry, Brian.
That was a long-winded diatribe there.
Yeah. And another thing.
It is a good point. And another thing, young man, if you ever take that beer out with my daughter, no.
That goes without saying.
I'm going to have my shotgun ready.
I think you guys asked about, what yeast went into this and kind of, I don't know, just quickly the recipe. I mean, yeah, very little hops. I mean, 1 hour boil with almost 1.5 ounces of aged Hersbrucker hops, kind of about 1.4 alpha acid units. I mean, I sat on these things for a while. 6 pounds of wheat DME, 4 pounds of pale DME. This was not the only carboy that I filled that day. I ended up getting like a 1055 OG. 3 gallons went into one carboy with WLP 670. That's a Saison strain with Brett. I ended up taking the beer, transferring it over to a secondary glass carboy to age for longer, and taking the original yeast cake and pitching that into the half-gallon carboy, half-gallon growler, and then adding in some dregs from Almanac Farmers Reserve. I think it was Buddha Hands, like the lemon varietal that they have. So cool. There was a little bit going on in that. And then there were 34.5 grams of medium roast Guatemalan coffee beans added to the original half-gallon growler. I went, wow, that's way too strong. A week later, did not really any sort of blending. I just went, let's just dump it all into this 3-gallon that I've been sitting on for, I don't know, about a year and a half, and see where this goes.
Cool.
So.
Okay.
I wonder if that maybe went from too strong to maybe not quite strong enough in terms of coffee character.
Possibly,
what did you think?
It's also a year and a half old.
Well, exactly. But what did you think? So presumably you drank that out of that 3-gallon. You had some.
Right.
What did you think of the coffee character at the time?
So January 12th, I wrote, sampled and enjoyed the flavor. Heat is gone. Coffee is interesting with the funk associated.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I don't know. To me, like, this beer was always, like, I kept waiting and waiting for some sort of heat to dissipate. I don't know if that was an acetic character or where does that heat come from, because it's not a very strong beer to begin with, like, in terms of the alcohol. Because it fermented down to 1006.
What was your fermentation temperature?
Ambient. It was pretty much left in my shower year round.
Do you shower in that shower?
No, I don't.
I just figured you probably
he doesn't actually shower.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
No, the beauty of that was when I transferred it over and aged it, I added one of those silicone bungs and closed it, and I just left it in a glass carboy, figuring that there's minimum oxygen permeability.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
So here's what will happen when you ferment uncontrolled is you'll have oftentimes a high temperature excursion like within a couple of days of pitching. So your temperature is going to go way up as those yeast reproduce and just go nuts on the beer. And you'll ferment. You can tend to ferment pretty quick. Now, maybe if it was a January, what time of year did you ferment this?
Well, so I should back up and say that originally, like the first. Sorry, I'm looking at it now. I think like the first month I kept it temperature controlled, and then I moved it over to age.
Okay, so yeah, you're fine.
Yeah,
Never mind.
Yeah.
I ignore my comment then because you can get some solventy type hot character sometimes from an uncontrolled fermentation that just goes really fast. And then goes back to like a normal temperature, but that doesn't sound like a thing that happened to you.
Did it have like a nail polish remover kind of character to it, like an ethyl acetate kind of thing?
I don't know if I've experienced that enough, but there was more of the warming, I thought.
Yeah, okay.
When I tried it, but I mean, I was living in Berkeley at the time, so not having the freeze-thaw sensation that we get out here in Concord. I was thinking that our temperature would be a little bit more controlled.
That should be fine for aging a sour. Yeah, you're fine.
You don't get it now, though, do you?
No, much less so. I mean, that very there's a small warming sensation, like they said, that I pick up on the end, but that's a lot smaller compared.
What was the ABV on the beer?
1,000.
I don't know. I'd have to do the calcs, but 1055 to 1006.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
probably like
6%.
Yeah, some change.
Yeah, I mean, the warming I got wasn't warming like from fusels. It was just standard, I'm having a beer, and it's a slight warming.
Yeah.
I didn't notice any. And I suspect that's just part of that bottle conditioning of this beer and the evolution of this as the bacteria and the yeast keep chewing through what's in there. They're chewing through those higher alcohols that would have caused that.
Got it.
So when it aged out a little bit and you got rid of that hot, did it kind of taste like you wanted, like the inspiration at all, or just a slightly different animal maybe?
No, I'd say the inspiration has much better coffee flavor.
Okay.
At this point, another issue with this is the carbonation, which I can talk about, and that's that I tried to dose it in individually, like with a syringe, like added corn sugar to the bottling bucket. And then was dosing in individual amounts of yeast to every bottle.
Jesus Christ.
It's always hard to gauge it that way.
Makes me not want to do sours again, that's for sure. But it was the EC 1118 yeast, the champagne yeast.
Yeah, okay.
What you need to do is get a keg and carbonate in the keg and then bottle from that.
So I spilled beer in the keg before with the sour, and I figured I would sour my whole kegging system. So I didn't really want to do that again.
Yeah.
You little Cobra faucet. And that's your sour one. Right?
Fair enough.
That's really interesting that you dosed the bottles with yeast and sugar, and it still ended up not being really carbonated. That's because that champagne yeast, in addition to that sugar, that's a good question. So, Brian, how tolerant is champagne yeast to low pH acidic environment? Do you have any idea? I don't.
So I make meads and stuff that I've tried to carbonate with adding, they've been fermented out for a long time and you want to add more yeast. And if you just add yeast like out of the package, or you're pretty much just kind of shocking it, and you add a little more sugar. It's like, what is this mess? You really need like an actively strong, fermenting. Like that's why krausening works. It's just you're adding freshly fermenting beer to your beer with enough sugar in it to finish out, get the carbonation you need. And it just ferments inside the bottle. It's ready to go. It's going. You add just yeast and sugar to a beer, a highly acidic environment, especially, and alcoholic and everything else. I mean, if it's properly hydrated. Champagne yeast is, again, it's kind of hard to kill that too. Yeah. So you should get something, but. I don't know. It's probably something you have to play with a little while and just make sure that you're using either some Go Firm or something to just get your yeast kind of happy and active when you hydrate it and add it, or even get it fermenting with a little bit of something first, and then make a starter and add it to each bottle in a measured amount. So you're getting what you want in there. But that's a good question. It's sometimes it's with adding yeast in a certain situation, you make it unhappy, and it'll fizzle out and say, no, I'm not ready to do this, man.
Yeah, it's a really challenging environment because it's not just alcoholic, but it's acidic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I rehydrated, and I ended up doing like 1.5 milliliters of the slurry for a 12-ounce bottle, and then kind of adjusting based on the overall volume of the bottle from there. And then doing 0.1 grams of the yeast per 12 ounces of beer. So it's not a tremendous amount, so I'll probably just up that next time. I just didn't want to get a bunch of bottle bombs. So.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that as the one who handles
So they were all about...
Yeah. Well, what's also interesting to me is that you'd think just that sugar, even if that yeast died in its entirety, there's enough bacteria in this beer that you think it would have chewed through the sugar.
I wonder if the coffee did anything. The acidity of the coffee drove it.
Maybe. Is coffee antibacterial like hops?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know. Whenever I don't feel well, I shove a bunch of it up my butt. And
who doesn't? But that wouldn't. The bacteria must be alive because this thing has evolved over 8 months. It's a conundrum.
It is. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to solve it here. Gabe, I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to take a quick break. But before I do, I want to let you guys know that you should use promo code BN2018. That's 2018 between now and the end of the year for any or new or renewal AHA membership through the Brewing Network, and you receive a free copy of both Wild Brews and Farmhouse Ales. Just click on Join the AHA link on the left side navigation of the Brewing Network website, and very, very specific, and use code BN2018 at checkout.
Young brewers, those of you who are under 30, do like I should have done when I was your age. Buy the lifetime membership.
Do it.
Seriously. You're going to save so much money over the course of your life. You're going to look at that bill and say, holy...
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Are you a member of the White Labs Customer Club? If not, you should be. It's the easiest way to earn free stuff for turning in your old homebrew labels from either Vials or Pure Pitch. All you have to do is save your labels and redeem them for things like free yeast, an exclusive White Labs t-shirt or sweatshirt, and even the opportunity to brew with the yeast man himself, Chris White. Signing up is easy. Just go to whitelabs.com/customer club, fill out the registration form, and then mail in your labels. They will return the favor by sending you awesome White Labs swag. Go sign up today at whitelabs.com/customer club. White Labs, pure yeast and fermentation since 1995.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
Okay.
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
Gabe is in the studio still.
Still here.
And we're going to give away the $40 gift certificate to grogtag.com to the runner-up of the score, the second first-place winner. Brian, who is that, please?
You want to be the runner-up here, and it's our friend Gabe right here.
Gabe, all right, dude. Good job.
Thank you very much.
To grogtag.com. Go to grogtag.com right now and order your stuff. And it's all customizable labels and tasting mats and all sorts of fun stuff. Bottle caps. And, also go to beta.grogtag.com and you can get more. You can get 25% off instead of just the normal 10% with code BNARMY. Okay, we're done. We're done with this place today, guys.
I've had enough.
Fellas, yeah. I can't take it anymore.
No, too much is never enough, Brian. Too much is never enough.
Too much is never enough. Somehow I cut
I'm ready to
myself.
go
That's
eat,
cool.
Another holiday food.
Hell
Thank
yeah,
God
bro.
we're doctors. Let's see that cut after the show.
If you want to have your beer featured on Dr. Homebrew, send an email to Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com, and he will actually respond to you.
It's that Brian, not this Brian.
Yes, I will.
And it's a good time, and he's doing it, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you to 5 Star, our primary sponsor of the show. Thank you to Scott and Gabe for sending in beers, or at least coming in and dropping off beers. And thank you to you for listening to this show. God, I can't even talk right now, dude. I'm like out of it. I'm out of it.
All of you in the audience are awesome.
Thank you
Every
very
single
much.
one of you.
Thanks for supporting this show over the last few years that we've been doing it. I think this is what show is this? It's like 100 and something, dude. Yeah. It's crazy. But you know what? Hope you had a good 2018. This is the last show we're doing for this year. We'll see you next year on Dr. Homebrew.
Merry New Year.
Take care of each
2019,
other.
bitches.